Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining our live stream today. My name is Kate Hateva, and I'm a founder of Career Pathway Institute. We are a nonprofit organization that helps internationals to build their career here in the US. And if you're interested to join our community, please read the links below this video in the description. And if you're interested to join our team, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will be very happy to talk to you. And today we have a very special guest, Colleen Silva Hayden. Colleen is not only leading expert on Coursera, but also ex-Harvard Assistant Director of University Innovation. And today we're going to talk about benefits of lifelong learning and how it can boost your career. So Colleen, thank you so much for joining us today. And could you please introduce yourself briefly?
Thank you so much, Kate, for that warm welcome. And welcome to everyone who's joining us for today's conversation. I'm really looking forward to hearing your comments and questions. As Kate kindly mentioned, I'm Colleen Silva Hayden. And while I personally wouldn't describe myself as an expert, usually people who I hear call themselves expert, I put them in a dubious category. What I will say is over the last 2 years, I worked at Coursera, designing, building, and launching online degree programs and certificates with some of the top universities in the world. I'm a huge fan of online learning, especially with Coursera. And I also, prior to Coursera, I worked at Harvard University on university innovation with universities all across the Americas, where we looked at everything from leadership and governance to teaching and learning and student-led innovation that impacted the university's resources and the minds, how they could impact local communities and global challenges. So on that note, we're going to get to focus today on the topic of how do you leverage lifelong learning through online learning models so that you can learn more and earn more, not just professionally in your career, but more broadly to thrive in your life.
Wow, that sounds so exciting, and I can't wait to learn more from you. And Colleen, she prepared a really cool presentation for us today. And please don't hesitate to ask your questions in the comments section. So we will be showing your questions in the live mode. And without further ado, let's start. So Colleen, here is the mic. The stage is all yours.
Great. Thank you, Kate. And before I dive in, I just want to mention if you ever have a chance to meet Kate in person, or even if that's over a one-to-one video chat, she is one of the most warm, bubbly people. She is incredibly passionate about her work. And I know that she puts so much thought and attention into really what her community's needs are. So she gave me a great background information about this community connected to the Career Pathway Institute. So anyone who's joining us here from, I know there's many joining from, who have come to the US from Russia, Belarus, people who are living in Texas, Florida, coming really an international community of professionals who are at different points of their career journeys. So, привет, if you're coming from Russia, Belarus, hola, muy buenas tardes if you're coming from Latin America. And on that note, we're going to dive in. So we're going to look at 4 main spheres. You might be at the point in your career where you're looking to land a new job. Maybe you're changing your career or trying to advance, get a promotion, a pay raise, or expand the scope of your work. Or maybe you're trying to build a new career as an entrepreneur and dive into a new market space. If any of these topics are of interest of you, then you are in the right place for our conversation today. Now, before we go any further, if we're going to talk about learning, I can't help, the educator in me has to do a pop quiz. So first question, just to see if you know.
Okay.
Does anyone happen to know what was the most watched show on Netflix in 2021? So we're all going back in our minds. A lot's happening with COVID. We're all inside. binging copious amounts of TV. Any guesses? All right, just think of it. Feel free to add it to the chat. It's fine if you Google search it. You're allowed to use these tools. It's no longer cheating.
I know the answer, but I think I can't participate in this quiz because I already know it.
Second question is, who is the most subscribed YouTuber?
Mm.
And then the last one is, what is the most valuable skill for your future? So think about those. So answer to the first one, the most watched show on Netflix in 2021 was actually Squid Games.
Yeah.
Now, why is this relevant to today's conversations?
Mr. Beast.
Oh, someone's already, all right, great. We're getting wonderful answers. So if you guess Squid Games, you are correct. And I want to touch on this as a little bit of getting into what was happening, where was people's minds, and what was kind of resonating with people. For many, when they're in their career or their learning journey, or just in life, broadly speaking, a lot of people encounter scenarios where they feel like, I am trying so hard, I am giving it my all. And I feel as though I am in some sort of competition where all of a sudden the game has shifted. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. I have to figure it out on the spot. I have to team up with others. And even when I'm trying my hardest, the rug is pulled out underneath me. So maybe that is something as cataclysmic as your country is all of a sudden immersed in an armed conflict. Or maybe it is your company, as we saw in tech over the last year and this year, lots of layoffs of highly talented professionals. All of a sudden, boom, they fell through the floor, or at least that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're a student, a learner who was, you tried so hard, you were maybe top of your class, and then you just didn't have the finances or the resources in other respects to go to a good university. So many different limiting factors where it can feel very either unfair, ruthless, highly competitive, and that you're kind of pushed into these scenarios where you're like, I don't know how to win. I'm just trying to figure this out. I have the motivation. Everyone here, right? You're like, I'm here to learn, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do and how I win to be able to land the right job or get promoted. And I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall. Now, Squid Games got really dark. I don't mean to take us there too much, but using hyperbole to illustrate a point, I think this is how a lot of people can feel if they don't have a good navigation system to guide them through their own professional growth and learning. So instead of, if you feel at any point like you're in a Squid Game, let's try to make it more of the Mr. Beast model, right? Now, I highlight Mr. Beast because one, he's just phenomenal. Two, but he's kind of like playing or bringing out the inverted Squid Game. Everyone wins. You're getting a new car, and it just so happens that if you look at the most watched video out of all of his, it's actually when he recreated the Squid Games.
Wow.
And in Mr. Beast's world, right, he has this very positive outlook. He's trying to bring joy and spread caring and also like a lot of just playful humor with his friends. But people, without even signing up, they're like, oh, I already won something. That is what, for me, learning is like. There is an inherent joy that comes with exploration, discovery, gathering new, surprising information, gaining new skills. And I would say, I would challenge you, if your learning experience, maybe it hasn't felt like that. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they walk away from, maybe it was their public education or K through 12, or they had a class, maybe it was in math, where they felt so frustrated. There are so many tools and resources and things that have been designed to make education that much more accessible, tuned to your preferences, your needs. And in the realm of online education, we now have, I would say, much more in the direction of a Mr. Beast style approach to learning. So you are invited in. Now, as you're orienting your career in the US, I wanted to give you a few things that you might not be as familiar with. If you're coming to the US and you're saying, I know some in your community, Kate, you said some of the people I'm working with, they were physicians in their home country. They come to the US. They're incredibly intelligent, hardworking. In their home country, they had all these credentials, and they come to the US and they find I have to do an entire program or residency over. And that's too much for me. I'm looking to pivot in careers. So well, I would say I'm not going to focus too much on lines of work that might be highly regulated, where there's lots of licensures required. Oftentimes, it can come down to the specific industry, profession, or even what's required at a state level. What I would say is that in the US, there's ample opportunity. There's a lot of space for one, it's important to know that you can come out of a university program, or even if you don't have a degree, there's a lot more acceptance from many employers where they're not necessarily saying, well, what did you major in? They're looking for evidence of, can you show me and prove to me that you are capable of these skills and these responsibilities? So if you had a different path to get to some set of abilities. As long as you can showcase that, there's a lot more openness. So, to give you some examples, I have friends that studied English literature or psychology or political science in undergrad, and they went on to be physicians through medical school, or they went into law, or in my case, I studied sociology and education policy, and I ended up going into the tech world. So, there's a lot more openness compared to some other countries. A second key point is when you're sharing about your professional experiences. I know for a lot of my friends and colleagues coming from Latin America, the resumes are 20 pages long,
That's true.
photo, birth date. It's a book, and it's fascinating to read. But in the US, things tend to be much more concise, to the point, and resumes, oftentimes, for most employers, they're going through some system where it's being read by a computer through
Mhm.
AI. No person is seeing it until there's like a good word match. But even more importantly, and I emphasize this because so many people spend painstaking hours and days on their resume trying to perfect it, and we feel like we're getting something done. Like we can always it's important to have a polished resume, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but there's going to be things in the US that more often than not are going to be more important. So one of those things is your network, and your network being, who are your peers, who are you connecting to, your mentors, people who can refer you. Many jobs, you might feel like you're banging your head against a wall, sending in dozens, hundreds of applications, and you're saying, why am I not getting interviews? Why am I not hearing anything back? Just that email that says, thank you, but no thanks. Well, referrals, they hold a lot more weight. So if you either have a connection or a connection of a connection, or even if you reach out to someone, let's say through LinkedIn, who works at a company where you really want to work, and you set up an informational interview just to learn more about it, their role, upcoming opportunities, that can be a great way to engage in your learning about that job opportunity and better prepare yourself and have a much greater likelihood. In fact, there's quite a few companies where when I talk to my peers, or know of different circumstances in their line of work, they would say, actually, like, do not send in your application
Huh.
just through the regular application board. Give it to me first. Make sure that I can give you that internal recommendation, because otherwise, no one's ever going to see it. So that's a little known uh, hint that I think is extra important in the US to know.
Yeah, and I also was very surprised when I took a class at Stanford about design your career. And I was hoping that they will give me a secret sauce how to find a job, how to create your career path. And the first thing they teach you is how to create your network, how to prepare for the informational, inspirational, all kind of interviews, and how to make your network like helping you to find a job. So I was really surprised that it works completely different from what I got used in my country. Like you just send in resumes, like basically spamming recruiters with your CV, but it doesn't work here like that. So thank you so much for sharing this.
And one other point, piggybacking off of that, Kate, is the importance in the US job market of transferable skills. So
Yes.
you might come from a job or an industry where you're saying, I'm trying to go to this space, and but I haven't worked specifically in that industry, or I haven't done this specific role. Many employers, they're looking for, do you have the skills? And are they ones that can transfer over and are relevant into this role? Um, that is really important. And that's going to anchor a lot of our conversation, because so much of hiring in the US and advancement is around your skills and not necessarily around the credentials. Credentials are an important path to getting those skills. It's not the only way. It's a real great guide and structure and source of validation for you and to employers, but it's not the only path.
So true.
Another realm, in addition to orienting you if you're coming into the US and you're saying, okay, help me figure out this landscape, something else that can feel very disorienting for people and like they're in more of a squid game is work is changing across the board. Whether it's AI revolution and we're looking at jobs that are completely changing, maybe you're bringing in new tools, or maybe you're looking at a job that within a few years it might not be employable. Uh, many people, they're looking for, what is that one thing that can't be replaced? Now, there are definitely certain professions where there's less of a likelihood that they're going to be fundamentally disrupted by AI. But it's really hard for us to predict what that would be.
Mhm.
Not all that long ago, projections were that the jobs that required manual labor, repetitive tasks in manual labor, would be replaced by robots. And actually, we're finding it's many of the white collar jobs, the creative jobs, that those are the ones that are either being disrupted or displaced by artificial intelligence. And just seeing the exponential curve, or maybe even faster, of the rate of change or the acceleration that we're feeling by how our world, not just jobs, but how our whole world and ways of life are being shifted and morphed by this, what arguably is the most potent technology ever created. That means everybody, whether it's right now or a few years from now, they're in a situation where they're saying, whoa, 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 I need to reorient myself. I might need to learn new things. I need to be able to adapt. So I think that this is really relevant for everyone to look at learning as a process of transformation holistically across your life. It's a bit of your own journey, evolution. This is something that I think is fundamentally fascinating. But if you're not diving into that journey and you feel like it's just coming at you, that can be scary and unnerving and frustrating. So I'd like to encourage you to embrace this model as learning not as something that you go off and you do a degree one time and you're done. How do you integrate it as a lever and as a system in your life to propel you forward in the directions that you want to go, for you to take charge and be able to command that in your own life? So, just as a quick question, please feel free to share in the chat or just think to yourself, what is your learning navigation system? Do you have one? Has it traditionally relied on the recommendations of maybe very esteemed academics? That can be great. It's one path to take. What I find really important is being able to leverage our online learning platforms and models, because they're highly adaptable. They're very relevant to in-demand skills right now. And most of them offer a wide array of skill-based learning. And I would also think about, what do you look to figure out where is that sweet spot between what's in demand and what are your passions and interests and your values. If you don't have a learning navigation system, you might want to think about adopting one. So let's go into online learning a little bit. Uh, and I want to ask you guys, what are some of the benefits that you see in online learning? A few common ones. The biggest one that I hear from people is just, it's flexible. I don't have time. Maybe I don't have time to drive to a campus or an institute. It's more affordable. That's another key one. Breaking down a lot of those traditional barriers. Being able to take bite-sized learning chunks and saying, hey, you know what? I can't fly to another city, uproot my whole life, and dedicate the next year, 2 years, or 6 months even. I can do 30 minutes every day, or 30 minutes 4 times a week. Or sometimes it's, 15 minutes a day. But I'm setting up this routine and it's very flexible and I can adapt it to fit my life and my needs. Um, some of the other learning benefits that we often see through research and talking to users of online learning is just the sheer amount of knowledge and options for applying those skills, and being able to see references, the likes from other people. What are other people who are using this saying about it? So even things like the comments or a star system to rate courses, to know, hey, what am I getting into? What value do other people see in it? Now, what are some of the limitations? I think during COVID, a lot of people got this crash course in online learning. Maybe you were a parent with a child who was all of a sudden thrust onto Zoom in your kitchen. That is not what good online learning works or looks like. That is not the experience that you get in these online learning platforms. What happened during COVID was a lot of schools just having to jump in and make do, but they weren't set up with the tools, the resources, the models, the learning science to guide you. So one, I just want to remove that because I think a lot of people, they walked away with a negative taste in their mouth from online learning during COVID. Um, Another limitation for some people, and this is an area that I'm actually focused on in my work now, is when you have a digital online experience, so much of our lives are being uploaded and digitized. We're lacking at times authentic community and real human connections. So if you're able to find a study buddy that you meet up with over coffee once a week, that can be a huge difference to learn with someone else in person, or even just have an accountability partner who's like, hey, we got to keep this going. We're going to show up together. And it's just more enjoyable that way as well. I would say I wouldn't put this so much as a limitation, but a lot of people, they just see this vast sea of opportunities and they're like, oh my goodness, which platform should I use? And what course should I study? And what skills should I be learning? And they get paralysis analysis and they're just like,
Yeah.
this is too much. um, but I would actually say it's great that you have this almost nearly infinite sea of opportunities and you get to explore what would be the best fit for you. I really want to hone in on the importance of developing in-demand skills. Um, this is really going to help you every year, whether it's the World Economic Forum, LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, they all produce really robust reports looking at what are the in-demand skills by industry that employers are seeking. And whether it's soft skills or hard skills, what are the ones that employers are saying, hey, you know what, we're going to be hiring based around this, or maybe we're seeing that within our current employees, this needs to be developed more. And many of these platforms, they're going to guide you, they're going to show you what those skills are, but also here's where you can learn it. Here's how you can showcase it, what you've learned, how you've applied it, how you've brought it into your work or a project. And being able to provide that evidence around the skills that you're building, that is going to carry you a much longer way, because that's actually the tools and the skills that you're applying in your trade. So let's start to take a look at some of these online learning platforms. We're going to do a quick overview of several of them. It's by no means an exhaustive list, but how many of you have heard of Udemy?
I'm a big fan of Udemy.
Awesome, awesome. So they offer so many courses, over 200,000 courses, but when you're signing up to their subscription plan, you have 8,000, over 8,000 that are on demand. So right at your fingertips, you can jump in. And this is a really nice price range where you're looking at, it could be anywhere from 19 to a little under $200 per course, or $17 a month. So for most people, they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm going to set aside 3 months, half a year, or a year, or just on an ongoing basis. I'm setting up that routine in my life to keep learning. What do you get in terms of credit? Now, when I talk about credit, I want you to think of it less as in the university, you have the number of course credits that usually count something like the number of hours in a course. Doesn't necessarily reflect learning, but think of a credit as something you can transfer that's basically validating from some institute or somewhere else saying, yes, this is an acknowledgement that this person has a verified level of learning in this. Okay. And that's something that you're going to be able to sometimes transfer. Some forms of credit are viewed as more reputable, more rigorous than others. So in the case of Udemy, you're learning from other professionals, industry professionals, and you're going to get a certificate after completing a course. It's not necessarily university credit though. So that may or may not be what you're looking for. A few things I'd like to spotlight that are really great about Udemy, in my own experience, is the lab exercise. You can reach out and contact the instructor most times, and it has many other courses in over 75 languages. That's pretty cool when looking at an international audience. Jumping into Coursera, I'm going to focus on the Coursera Plus because that's the most frequent option for individuals looking to have their own learning navigation system to accompany them in their professional growth and learning. So this is coming from an offering of over 7,000 courses for the Plus subscription. And to be very clear, I have a clear bias towards Coursera because I'm such a huge fan and had worked there. But over 7,000 courses, they have specializations and certificate programs, and over 50 degree programs. You're paying either, many of the courses are free, but if you want to validate it, get the course verified that, yes, you completed these assignments and you're getting a grade, usually that's where a paid certificate starts to come in. And you're looking at a price that's anywhere from about $49 a month or $400 a year for the Coursera Plus subscription. And you can do full degree programs there's bachelor degree programs, master's programs. Many of them are around or under $20,000, but I would say really look at what university and country is it coming from. So there's degrees that are even much more affordable coming from India and Latin America. And what are you getting in terms of credit? So there's certificates when you complete courses or certificate programs. Many of the courses you're getting university credit from a university that is accredited, right? So it has that seal of approval by institutions and education systems. You're getting degrees. A few things I'd like to spotlight here is check out the Career Academy. This is going to give you a whole guide around, especially if you're looking at jobs, if you're one of those career changers and you're saying, I want to be a data analyst, I want to go into software engineering, I want to be a UX designer. Some of the programs that are really fascinating are, for example, the Google certification programs. It'll show you what's the median average pay for someone who's entering into this line of work, how much hiring is taking place, what are the in-demand skills, and can give you an overview of that field. And the last point that I want to highlight is stackable learning. So if you take a course and you try that out, and then you say, okay, now this course, the skills and learning in it, it's actually relevant to this certificate program. Oftentimes, that course will already be recognized if it's relevant. And then
Mhm.
if you do a certificate program, let's say you do 5 to 6 courses in a certificate program, you can check to see many of these. It will then stack into, or basically give you credit that's already recognized and count towards doing a degree in that. And it's a great way to basically try before you buy, or just say, I'm ready for the level of commitment of a course or a certificate. Now I'm ready for the degree. And know what? I've already done about a third of it. So that's a pretty great option there. And just to highlight some of these Google certificate programs, um, a really great insight that came out of a 2022 report is that 75% of Google Career Certificate graduates in the US reported an improvement in their career trajectory. So they either got a new job, career, a promotion, or a raise within 6 months of completing one of these Google certificate programs.
It's incredible.
So if you're looking to get a promotion, uh, get a pay raise, change careers. Um, Not only the Google certificate programs, but many of these other certificate programs, they're great prices. They're highly relevant to what's in demand, and they're constantly being updated. Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as I know, there's I think Google certificates are for free for a while. I'm not completely 100% sure, but I've heard that some of the certificates are free right now. So double check it. Don't trust me, but just go to check it.
And on that note, Kate, many of these platforms will give you a month free, to even just try out. So many of them, they're like, hey, we want you to explore, find out if this is right for you before you even pay into something.
Yeah. A lot of my friends, they're a big fan of Google certificates, and probably all of my friends completed at least one certificate in project management, in data science or data analytics, like in different very in demand areas, like where skills are really in demand. So that's what I like about Google certificates, because they always think about what's really needed right now, and they're trying to provide the best quality instructors, and that actually instructors, all of them are working in Google, so you can learn from working experts, not from the professors at universities, but from actually working professionals.
So another big fan here. I love to hear that. Um, well, Coursera has well over 100 million learners. A similar online learning platform that I also really love is edX. So this started from between MIT and Harvard. It was acquired, I want to say, a little over a year ago, maybe a bit longer, by 2U. And they offer, so again, many leading partners, institutions, industry partners, and universities from all over the world. And when you sign up for edX, you're getting well over 4,000 courses. They also offer boot camps, which is pretty cool. And that's one of the more unique things that they have. Over 300 certificate programs and degrees. They have options much like Coursera, where you can do free courses or you're paying for the certificate and validation. Degrees that are right around the 10K mark for a lot of US institutions. And I'll highlight one of those in just a moment.
Mhm.
And for credit, you're getting certificates, you're getting degrees from accredited universities, and you're getting course and degree credit. What's really interesting that edX offers is not only bachelor's and master's, but you can also do your doctoral degree in many fields. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting. I have never imagined that you can do your PhD, right?
So I don't know if they offer PhD programs per se that are highly research intensive, but doctoral programs where your intent is to be a practitioner in that field. I think that's the key focus. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the focus.
Yeah. Before we will move to the next one, just want to show some comments from our comments. I love Coursera, and we've done a few pro certification on Google courses, and the only real drawback was lack of community or a buddy cohort. And as you mentioned before, just create these accountability partners and study together, right? Yeah. And there's another one. Coursera also has financial aid. I once completed a full certificate, 5 courses using financial aid when I was a student several years ago. Wow, I didn't know that you can ask for financial aid. I think I missed this point.
And I would add for a lot of the degree programs, even if you're still saying, hey, this is much more affordable than if I were doing the on-campus equivalent, or maybe, just the mere fact of not needing to move, right? That's or needing many of these degree programs, they're designed and the certificate programs with people who are working, people who already have busy lives. Most of them are designed to fit into your life on a part time model and intentionally build in a lot of flexibility, not just being online, but everything about it is thought through because most of the people taking these, they're people that they're already busy. They don't want to leave their job. They're trying to build this into their already very full lives.
Yeah.
I want to highlight uh, on edX, you can do a master's in artificial intelligence with the
Oh,
University of Texas, Austin. So this is a great, ranked as top 10 public university, number 8 in best computer science school. You can always check what ranking system is listing that. But like, this is a pretty incredible opportunity when you're saying, here's a highly in demand career field, set of skills. Yes, you need to be able to get through the prereqs. Oftentimes, you need to have a quantitative background. But let's say you're coming in, you're like, well, I studied, language, or maybe I don't have a bachelor's degree. If you don't have the skill sets to be a qualified applicant at that time, most of these programs, they're going to show you that scaffolded series of learning steps of
mhm.
where do you start, what requirements would you need to fill, and how to get there so that you might chart out your journey and say, I'm not ready to apply to this yet, but in 6 months I will be. So
Wow, and it's pretty affordable, just $10,000. I think it is price of graduate program. Well, not graduate program, just some professional program here at Silicon Valley. So it's really affordable.
another great online learning platform, LinkedIn Learning. This is one where you're looking at over in the subscription plan, you're looking at over 16,000 courses. And for each of these, a course can mean different things. So while you're on edX and Coursera, if you're taking a course that's coming from an accredited university, a course might be more along the lines of something that you're completing over 4 to 8 weeks. Whereas in LinkedIn, a course might be something that you finish in 30 minutes, right? So look at, but it might be thought of as, it's a complete set of knowledge that you're focusing on. So look at what you're trying to gain from it. It's really great for building your professional network. Everyone knows that, and showcasing your work. And you're looking at a price range that could be, if you do the annual subscription, about $20 a month, or if you just want to try it month to month, you're looking at about $40 a month. And here you're getting certificates. And one new thing that LinkedIn Learning has started to incorporate, I want to say maybe 5, 6 months ago, is they have some universities where they are validating if you did a course and then you go to that university that's one of the partners, you can show them your certificate of completion and they will acknowledge that with university credit. So look into that. I've noticed it's more universities from, I think there's some European universities Um, they're not the same institutions where I'd say that you're going to see as much on edX and Coursera, but there are instances where you're able to get academic credit. So that's pretty exciting. LinkedIn Learning, it used to be Linda,
Yeah.
and much of LinkedIn Learning is really geared towards people who are already in their jobs and they're learning on the go, and they might say, hey, I need to do this specific task. How do I do it? And I need something that's really bite size, pinpointed. So you can look at these longer term skill sets and realms of knowledge, but oftentimes it's kind of learning on the go. And this is what I really like about it. You can fine tune it to these very specific skills and just dive in and say, that's all I need for right now. I'm not trying to do a whole career change. I'm trying to do what I'm doing really well. Um, what's really great, I think, about LinkedIn is if you're applying to a job, it'll, many of you have probably already experienced this. It's going to send you an email or a pop up of saying, oh, this type of job requires these skills. Here are some great courses that you can take. And it's going to kind of help pull you along into the learning process. And LinkedIn Learning, just for the sheer massive amount of data that they're getting from employers of who's hiring, who's applying, they're really able to hone in on what are the industry needs around skills.
Yeah, I also like about Linda about LinkedIn that they are giving you free access to the class for like 24 hours. So when I had more time, like a couple of months ago, I was auditing the course during one day, like for a couple of hours, and they are looking what you're interested in, and they are recommending you another course. Like, hey, you was interested in leadership, take a look at this course, and they provide you free access for like one day. And if you have enough time, enough resources, you can do a lot of LinkedIn learning without even paying. But if you want certificate, of course you need to pay, but maybe later.
And to expand on that point, Kate,
Mm-hmm.
almost all of these online learning platforms, they have amazing teams of data scientists, learning scientists, researchers who are looking at models of how do we support you and personalize your learning path. How do we understand what's going to motivate learners, but also you, and support you in that routine, help you with motivation, focus, set up your intention. So there's always increasingly, I would say, almost a built in academic advisor that's trying to fine tune and help you to make those incremental next steps in your learning journey. So that's pretty exciting. And as AI starts to be more and more infused with our learning systems, there's just a lot of potential there. And on LinkedIn, they have really great guides for different roles. I'm just sharing with you one example of different roles within tech. And if you're saying, I might want to make a career change or learn a certain skill set, but before I commit to a whole course or a program, I just want to get a better sense of like, what do you even do in this job? What is it about? So you can get this really great snapshot and feel it out before you dive into a whole course. Or you could do one of the open MOOCs or free courses on any of these platforms, really. I also wanted to showcase Masterclass. I know that this is a favorite for many. I think of it as the Netflix
Yeah.
learning. Just you get these insanely talented people that are sharing from their experience around their career journey and how they learn this. And so they just bring that passion and enthusiasm. And then you get this just beautiful video production. But I would say it is a bit more like you're watching a movie and you're like, I got my popcorn and I got the remote and I'm just kicking back and I'm like, yeah, I'm learning to be Alicia Keys. I can just jam out on the piano and produce music. Like I got this because in 10 minutes or a few hours, like Alicia Keys taught me. So I would say from like the experiential standpoint of watching it offers a lot. But to actually acquire skills, you have to apply them. You have to struggle with them. You have to get into those points where you're either a little or a lot frustrated and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I do this? And make mistakes and get feedback. And masterclass, it's not really built around that. Several months ago, they did start to implement. So, in addition to, they offer guides and exercises. They're kind of like, hey, maybe you should do these things to actually learn this and not just hear about it, right? Because we don't want to just acquire information. We want to gain skills and be really capable and effective in implementing those skills. So, Masterclass started providing some hands on sessions, and that's a little bit more incremental activities that you can apply. And then you can share it with the Masterclass community around that course. A community of peers can provide feedback. That's not live sessions, though. So many of these other platforms like edX, Coursera, in a number of the programs, especially a lot of the some certificates and most of the degrees, you're going to have hybrid options where you're connecting with other people live, teaching assistants, your classmates. You don't really have that for LinkedIn Learning or Masterclass. That can be a pro or a con depending on what you want, but it's very affordable. And for many people, they're creating some sort of um, a collection of different things that really speak to them from these different platforms. So this masterclass can be very inspirational, um, and it's really entertaining. And you get to learn from celebrities and VIPs. That's pretty cool. The last one that I'm just gonna touch on is actually YouTube. It's not designed as a online learning platform, but it is a resource that I would say the world at large just goes to with this seemingly endless ream of videos where you can create your own videos. There's lots of informal and formal learning, many courses being taught through YouTube, inviting you into connecting you to maybe a professional's website and then live courses. It's also a great place to showcase what you're learning and connecting with others. Um, it's free with ads, and you're not getting any credit. No one's going to say, I watched this on YouTube and put that on their resume. No, but you can market yourself as a professional. You can show off projects. Depending on what industry you're in, it may or may not be more or less relevant. But really think about how you can leverage YouTube for your own learning. A lot of people even collect videos that support them in their own learning, maybe it's skills or inspiration, and they create their own video content or they're looking at playlists. And it can also be a space to build your network, right? Really through marketing your work. So think about how to showcase your skills. LinkedIn Learning, I'm going to include at the end, there's a link to a number of resources, but LinkedIn Learning, they provide playbooks around really how to best showcase your learning, your skills in a concise and really effective manner so that you're communicating to others what you're able to offer to them. And when you're thinking about, for many employers, let's take Meta, Google, Apple, a lot of them will even say in a job description, you could go into software engineering and you're not required to have a bachelor's or master's degree. That can help you a lot, but there's plenty of professionals who have had a different learning path. And these employers, they basically say, we don't care how you got to what you're able to do. You didn't have to go to Harvard to be able to work here. If you can showcase what you can do, if you develop an online portfolio, maybe it's a personal website where you're showing different projects you've contributed to, presentations, anything where you can show your work, who you are, your values, also a bit more about who you are, right? That's all the more opportunity to get your voice, your talent out there, connect with others, and be of greater interest to potential employers. And there's actually many people who are some of the top leaders in innovation and technology. They're very proud to flaunt that. Yeah, I went to Stanford and I dropped out after a year. Yeah, I went to MIT and I dropped out. And they're kind of saying, like, you know, part of the value was that filter of getting in. They went through that hurdle and they're like, but I'm really focused on this and I'm so driven towards this. You'll have some, even like Elon Musk, he's like, getting a degree is a waste of your time. I don't think that personally. I think it's more to your own path, your preferences, what you feel ready for. A lot of people benefit from having a curated, guided, confirmed set of this is what you should be learning, when, getting feedback, having a community to learn with. Those are huge things that not everyone knows how to just jump out on their own and create and craft around their own dreams. Um, but just know, I think there's a lot of countries where you have to check off these very formal boxes. And that is something that you don't have to do as much in the US, but you do need to show evidence. Um, you need your references, you need your network of peers, and to showcase what you can do. So, really focus on building your community of peers, not just professionally for saying, hey, I'm looking for this job or I'm trying to get this promotion, but really think about your peers in the context of who are you learning and growing with? Who are your partners on this journey where you're going to get after each other and be like, you can do this, you have got this. Or, hey, did you read this article? Or, hey, let me show you how to do this thing, right? When you're like, I am so confused, I don't know what I'm doing, and you just connect. And a lot of that's happening side by side. To give you one example, I was doing one of the Google Cert programs, and I connected with a colleague to meet every couple of weeks, and we just share what we've been learning, what we like about it. So also feel free to. A lot of people can feel a bit nervous about kind of like cold calls. People are nice, and
Yeah,
if they're not, ignore them and move on.
that's what we are doing with our colleagues, with our team. We constantly sharing new skills we are learning ourselves. So, for example, one team member sharing with us, "Hey, I learned this amazing app. Like it can cut short, small videos from the long video. Let me show you how I'm doing this." And another one is telling, "Oh, I learned how to write prompts for ChatGPT. Let me show you how to do that." So that's amazing. You definitely need your community of people with whom you are growing together.
And I would even emphasize this point for the long term, even more than maybe getting certain certifications or any other milestone, because this is going to help you in the long term to feel motivated, to get feedback, honest feedback, and really kind of keep you in line with your potential that sometimes you don't even see in yourself, but your peers do. So we're gonna end on one of the three questions that I asked you is what is the most valuable skill for your future? It's a bit subjective. Um, I'd like you to think about what that is for you. Maybe it's finding what is the most in-demand skill. I'm going to learn software engineering. Everyone's hiring around that. Sam Altman, in a recent presentation, he was saying, even with ChatGPT and all of the efficiency that it's brought to productivity. Um, he was looking at one country where ChatGPT wasn't accessible for a few weeks, and he said it for software engineers, the productivity like went down by half. And he said even with AI right now, that's nowhere near going to fill the need of software engineers, right? So that's just one of those upward trends. So maybe it's around a hard skill that employers are looking for, and it offers great pay and great flexibility. Maybe it's a different skill. For me, it's curiosity. And why is that? It's the underlying just joy of learning. I have a little daughter. She just turned 10 months old. And if she encounters an object too many times, she's bored with it and she just throws it on the floor and she's like, give me something new. I want to learn. And having lifelong curiosity, that's what's going to keep you open and motivated and learning and adapting and thriving in your life and your career. Uh, Kate and I were going to leave you with some resources very briefly. Class Central, it gives you a great overview of a lot of the different online learning platforms, latest news, trends, analysis. check out the Coursera job skills report. It's going to give you a breakdown of what are the most in demand skills that employers are looking for by industry, and then how you can learn and gain those skills on the platform. The World Economic Forum has a great report from this year on the future of jobs. So if you're looking at globally, like what are the jobs for the future that I want to be aiming towards? Um, LinkedIn has a really great playbook for students, I would say for professionals as well, where it shows you how do you showcase your learning using LinkedIn? How do you leverage this? And there's a lot of great insights there because some people they're wondering, all right, I just did 30 courses on edX. Do I just tag them all? Right. And then the last piece, if you're interested, there's a really popular course on Coursera, Learning How to Learn by Barbara Oakley. And this is just a great way if you want a bit more of that metacognition to charge your own learning process. Um, Wonderful course. So, on that note, just want to send a huge thank you to the wonderful team at the Career Pathway Institute. I invite you all to continue your professional learning and growth journey with the team there. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much, Colleen. It was so helpful and very insightful. Even I write down some notes for myself to study it later. Just have a question for you. What are you learning right now?
I am learning to be a really good mom. And part of that learning for me is believing in my potential. And for many women, I think they're fearful of when you become a new mom, you're like, oh no, career is going to take backseat and I'm just going to fall backwards and not get the same opportunities. Instead, I took that as my daughter is learning something new every day. What is the model that I'm going to share for her through my example? And what is the little bit that I can influence or impact in the world that she's going to inherit? So that's just this huge, huge propeller. And that actually helped propel me into an entrepreneurial path. So I'm on that fourth bucket of building your own career. And it's taking your greatest passions and interests and harnessing, I live in Palo Alto, I'm in Silicon Valley with you, Kate.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole sea of learning here. So
How are you fighting with your FOMO? Because it's so many courses, so many classes, everything, and especially you live close to Stanford, so it's very tempting to take some continuous learning studies there.
to be honest, I have like 30 books on my reading list and they're in my closet and I'm still only halfway through with one. So I just try to catch it all.
Well, thank you so much, Colleen, for joining us today and for sharing your experience, for sharing your knowledge. And I know that it's impossible to answer all the questions just in 1 hour. So please feel free to drop your comments and questions in the section below the video, and we will be answering them on the regular basis. And thank you, everybody, for watching us live tonight. We will have more events like this one on a regular basis. We are trying to invite guests every month, every 2 weeks, and doing live streams like this one. So please be sure that you're subscribed on our channel. And if you find this video helpful, don't hesitate, share with your community, share with your friends, family, with somebody who can benefit from it. So thank you so much once again, and see you soon. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, Kate.